Hi, today we're talking about our expectations versus the reality in our
Yeah.
marriage. So, this video idea actually came from one of our viewers, Joel. So, shout out to Joel. Thank you so much for that
Thank you.
feedback. And for other persons who may have video ideas for us to do, please do feel free to reach out to us and let us know what you think we should do. Once it aligns with the framework that the Lord has given us, then we'll surely move on that. So,
Yep. This is gonna be a very interesting video because we had a lot of expectations, and
yes.
you get to a point in marriage where you just kind of some things may shock you, as we'll get into. Other things you're just like, okay, all right, let me just adjust my frame of mind because this is my reality. So yeah, let's get into this one. So the very first expectation that we had, just a wake up call on, was dating. Now, before we were married, dating was something that we put a lot of effort into because each date was an opportunity to see each other.
Yeah.
So we'd be going to movies all the time, trying new restaurants, doing new activities, and then you get married, and it becomes just something that you do when you have the time, or something that you don't do at all for months on end. And then you're like, you'll hear that, be sure you maintain your date nights, and you're like, oh yeah, we should do that, right? And then we try for a couple of weeks, and then we're like, yes, we're building up some momentum, and then it goes back to the default.
So I was very big on our date nights, right? And I would put a lot of effort into us doing our date nights every week. And Mr. Mack here,
It's exhausting.
he exactly, that was the feedback. He's like, I can't do this every week. I'm tired. Why you want to do? Can't we just stay home? Can't we just watch
Yeah,
TV?
Listen, getting dressed, driving, parking, waiting on stuff, spending that couple of hours, coming back home. No, it's just like talking about it is exhausting.
So our reality became shifting from a weekly date night to a monthly date night.
Yes.
And
it's much
then
better.
it was never maintained anyway.
Yeah.
So the middle ground that we found was having date nights at home.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, we leave it there.
So now that's our reality.
Yeah.
Date nights at home. And the blessing in that, during COVID, we're not missing
Yeah.
anything.
Well,
We're accustomed to
yeah.
home date nights.
we just miss being outside. But yeah.
Yeah. Another expectation that we had, or that I had coming into marriage, was that we would never have a financial struggle. That we would always be able to cover our bills. We would always be
And so you see the previous point, that dating would be able to afford all those dates.
yes, that I'd have a comfortable financial life.
Yeah. And just be able to buy any car and go anywhere and
Get the house that I want and everything. Just like that, like it should happen.
Yeah.
Because now we're two. It's two of us coming together, right?
Yeah.
So yes, that was my financial expectation coming into marriage.
Yeah. The reality of that is that, I struggled with money. I ran my own company. Money wasn't in abundance during the time, and we had a lot of challenging years in terms of finances. We had a lot of bills that, if you've ever been in debt, then you'd understand the burden that comes with credit card debt and
Yep.
loans that you have to repay. And so it just kind of takes the fun out of everything else you have to do when you have this bill to pay
Yeah.
each month in terms of that credit card bill. So that reality for us it sobered us up quite nicely.
Quite well. And I think
nicely.
for me, one of the most sobering moments was coming home to no light, to no power. Why? Because our bill wasn't paid.
Yeah.
I did not take that very well.
She cried.
Yeah,
She
I fully cried.
Yeah.
Fully cried. But yeah, so our reality is that we have gone through some very difficult financial times,
Yeah.
some hard struggles.
So, in addition to what we mentioned before in terms of finances, another expectation I had was that, we'd just be able to make decisions very easily regarding finances. That was the expectation. We would want the same things, we'd prioritize the same things, we would spend money in the same way.
Yeah.
The reality of that is we have competing priorities. For Renee, it's vacation. For me, it's a new laptop or a new camera. So when you have to decide, do we go on vacation or do we buy, something that, it could not even be that simple, but it could be, do you,
They're just choices.
Yeah.
They're choice. They're decisions that have to be made, and you have to make them together. It's not one person or the other. And I think for me, I had a similar expectation that we would just flow when it came to spending money. That we didn't have to go into any deep discussion.
It wouldn't be that complicated.
Yeah, we didn't have to go into any deep analysis of our money. That was wrong.
Yeah. So the third one for us was chores. Expectation. House will always be tidy. We will share the workload evenly for the house. And that two persons, no kids, nobody running around. We should be able to manage this quite easily, quite well. It's not that complicated.
My expectation was that we would have a domestic assistant who would therefore ensure that the house was always tidy.
That was my expectation, because that has a cost.
So we all, so we both had the same expectation about the house always being tidy, but the how it got done was very different for the two of us.
Yeah. The reality is that some things just don't get done on time.
Yeah.
Even when you discuss it, even when you plan it, and we've learned the difference between dirty and untidy.
Yeah.
We are okay with untidy. We're not okay with dirty. We both agree there. But chores one of those things that, man, it's hard. It's hard.
It's never done. So you'll hear the phrase housework is never done, and it's very true. There's always something to do around the house, and our reality is that we have a lot of commitments that we have made with our time, and so sometimes the chores, the household stuff,
I just
they're
never
gonna be
expected
delayed.
to be washing so many dishes. That's the most, that's the most traumatic thing for me. Doing dishes.
But we eat food every day, so
that's a reasonable expectation.
How does it balance? We eat food but we don't wash dishes. I don't know. So
we should just break the plates after.
Yeah, so the reality is that sometimes we do have some untidy spots in the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes the laundry gets done but it's not folded.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it stays in the pan for weeks, and some of us soak the plates before we wash them.
We won't even get into the soaking conversation right now.
No, I want us to get into that conversation, because tell me in the comments below if plates need to be soaked before they're washed. This is a very important question. So
let's just put this in context, because when you have cheesy dishes like the lasagnas, or you have the stew peas, or you have the curries and those things that stick to the plate,
as in Stefan and Aisha.
the things that stick to your plate, that somebody doesn't put water in at all.
But it would be easier to clean it out, right?
Doesn't.
It would be easier. All of those things you just mentioned, it would still be easier to clean them out right away.
That is true.
Yes.
But do you wash the dishes as soon as we're done eating? All right.
That was never an expectation.
So there we go. So there has to be a balance, yeah.
Soaking plates.
And the pots. It's more the pots than the plates, really. It's more the pots.
Right. So the next expectation was, we call it a morning routine. So when you live together, as in a married couple, you have to share resources. You have things to consider, like the time you wake up. One person may be a morning person, the other may not be. There's the use of the bathroom, and there's the expectation of breakfast.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, the expectation would be that whatever time you wake up, well, however long you need to sleep, I'm not calling any names.
Is this you being the man?
So I expected to be able to sleep as long as I needed to sleep to wake up comfortably. Reasonable expectation. Next, I expected to have breakfast every morning. I mean, it's the meal that you use to start the day. And the third thing, nothing could have prepared me. I had no expectation here, honestly, but nothing could have prepared me for sharing the bathroom with my wife. That's all I'll say.
So on my side, I'm the morning person. I'll say it. I'm the morning person, right? So I'll get up early. No issue. But a part of the expectation for me is that he would get up early too. So I wouldn't be up. So I wouldn't be up alone for 2-3 hours before he gets up.
So the worst part about that, she'll be up for 2 hours. I'm waking up. I used to hear, dude, why it takes so long to wake up? I'm like, I'm sleeping.
Yeah,
so I'll wake up
why?
and she's like, okay, let's go. I have all of these things to tell you. I'm like, can I get 5 minutes?
Yeah, because my day would have started 2-3 hours before, and I was just ready. I'm just waiting for this dude to wake up. Yeah, so that was a part of my expectation that he would get up at the same time that I get up. That's not the reality at all.
What about breakfast?
Breakfast. So I actually like to cook. I enjoy preparing our meals. And in terms of breakfast, yeah, I expected to be making breakfast every morning and serving my husband this nice spread every day, and
then you get married.
Yeah. but I didn't expect to have a dirty kitchen in the morning.
How does that have to do with that? That has nothing to do with this point. Scratch that from the record.
No, but
Your
it
Honor.
does.
That has nothing to do with this.
It does though for me, because having plates in the sink
her,
disturbs me.
Her reasoning
It disturbs
is that
me.
she can't cook. She can't use the stove if there are dirty dishes in the sink.
It bothers me, guys.
Explain that to me.
It bothers me. So it may mean that some mornings I'll get up and wash the dishes as opposed to
So she'll spend
preparing
an
breakfast.
hour. She'll spend an hour washing the dishes. 1 hour. And then I'll wake up and be like, are we gonna have breakfast? Looks at the time.
It's like, I gotta go to work.
Yeah, I have to work. I'm like, you've been up since like 5. You've been up since 5. It's now 7. And
Yeah, but
I had to do the dishes first. I say, the dish is not on the stove. The dish is not on the stove, and I'm meaning the stove is free.
So the reality now about that breakfast side of things, I've learned to accept a few dirty dishes in the sink and
She
still
loses her mind.
and still go ahead with making food, with preparing breakfast. Not anymore waiting on a clean kitchen all the time to prepare what I
She
got.
does it while holding her breath. She doesn't even look at the sink in there. It's like
I'm learning.
a serious piece of denial. She's like, these dishes aren't here. I'm just gonna be cooking. There's no dirty dishes. There's no dirty dishes.
I'm learning how to adjust. What was the other thing? The bathroom. So so the bathroom, let's talk about that one.
Really? You sure?
Yeah. So we
should never share a bathroom together. Is that
I never had the expectation that it would be problematic to have no door on our bathroom.
Oh boy.
So right. So with an ensuite bathroom, previously we were in a studios and so our door was always open, our bathroom door was always open. And we kind of got accustomed. There was a door, we just never closed it. So we kind of got accustomed to just being in each other's space like that. I never expected that at some point it would be like, this is too much.
It became too much, too. Guys, I need help.
So
like, we can't even share the half. The half has never been told.
So there are a couple things about it though. First of all, when I get up in the morning, I expect to have my bathroom time. Right?
So a part of her getting up like 3 hours before, you know this thing where they say people read magazines and check emails and plan their day?
I knew that. I knew that in the bathroom. And so that takes like half an hour, 45 minutes. Sometimes my legs get cramped. It's what I do. Yeah. And I never thought that would be an issue because it's just my routine. You know, I'm comfortable doing that, and that's actually
except in the mornings that we have to get up together for something.
Yes.
That's when it becomes a problem because I'm like, are you gonna spend all day in the bathroom? And this is my time, you know. This is my time. You're not usually up at this. I'm like.
Yeah.
And then that same thing whenever we have to go somewhere early, right? Let's say we have to leave for somewhere 5 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
When I wake up, because I'm not a morning person, I need some time. But she's like, let's go. I'm like, that's not being very kind.
Yeah, not very considerate of him in that way, or very patient. So,
and I'm just saying to everyone considering marriage,
keep the door in your bathroom.
Prepare yourself. Get multiple bathrooms if you can, right?
And even that, guys, we have more than one bathroom. We do have.
But we have a preference. The master bathroom is the best one.
So
we both want
to use the same one, though we have another one right next door.
It's caused some trauma.
Yeah.
Please pray for me.
For us, I don't know why he's acting like it's just like he's the only one traumatized here. We've heard some things. You know what I mean?
You're going to go there? You're going to go there? You know what? I have no comment.
No comment.
Next point. And so this expectation, what would take place in the bedroom?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about sleeping habits first.
Yes.
Expectation, we have a bed that can comfortably fit 2 persons. I should be able to lie down with my pillow and sleep. Being comfortable, sleeping how I sleep. Reasonable expectation. Reasonable. Right? The reality.
Hold on. My expectation
is to cuddle every night?
Yes, is that my husband is gonna hold me in his arms until I fall asleep.
And even while she's sleeping. And so she will just wake up during the night in my arms and just look up and be like, I'm just in the arms of this strong man.
Yes, who is covering and protecting. You know, that was the expectation, that his arm would never cramp. That we'd never get hot in the bed.
That somebody would. So I'm gonna share this story. So like a year ago, I'm just going about my day feeling this pain in my leg. I'm like, this is weird. And it's a very specific place. I'm like, I didn't injure it. I wasn't like, nothing happened. And a little later that week, we're going to bed and my wife leans over and puts her foot right on the spot that's hurting me. I was like,
you're like, oh, that's where the pain came from. I would like.
She takes up 90% of the bed.
That's not true. But I would come very close to him every night.
If I turn to my left, I'm falling off the bed.
That's not true.
Anymore. Okay.
Yeah. But I would put my leg over his leg every single night. And fall asleep that way.
Over my matches stick legs.
Yes, so it actually caused some pain. So now I'm adjusting. I'm still adjusting, honestly, to not doing that.
I feel so bad.
And also, in terms of the temperature of the room to sleep. So we have
She
different.
sweats like I don't even know.
Listen, I'll just come out the shower, be in AC and still sweating. So that happens sometimes.
So somebody is not going to want to be holding somebody who's sweating. Okay.
So it's hard. It's hard for us to find that right temperature in the room because
It's either freezing for her, which is actually go, you go.
and then he would have a preference for warmer temperatures. So that was a whole expectation in itself that we would both be comfortable at the same temperature and we just sleep comfortably through the night. So the reality of that, we had to make numerous adjustments to find a balance that works for both of us. And I think actually I think our bodies have changed because it's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
We actually are now comfortable at fairly the same temperature. Now I'm the one who's like, please turn off the fan, that's too cold. That's too much happening in there. Yeah.
Okay. And we know the expectation that you're waiting to hear about. So the expectation of sex in marriage for me, multiple times per week, it's reasonable. I wouldn't have to be strategizing to have sex. I wouldn't have to be thinking about the day before, something that I said, something that I didn't do. I didn't think that foreplay would be happening 2 weeks before. So yeah, those were my reasonable expectations.
My expectations about sex were that it would always be a production, like lots of
5 hours.
lots of intimacy and candlelights and rose petals and all the romantic stuff that throughout the day my husband would be sending me flowers or sending me sweet texts.
Yes.
Sweet text messages and just preparing me emotionally for this wonderful experience that we're gonna have multiple times per week. That was my expectation.
It's interesting that you would say multiple times per week.
Because that's what you said,
Can we share the reality?
Sure.
Please do. Go ahead, you first.
So the reality is that them fanciness there hardly ever happens. Like
1% of the time.
It hardly ever happens. As we would have said before, we have a lot of commitments for a time and we do try to maintain and improve and increase our intimacy.
And I think reasonably so it's natural for us to have expectations of only a few things, and then once you're married you have to deal with so many things that committing hours per day, like
so the truth is all of those expectations that we would have shared would mean like some 2-3 hour sessions when it comes to sex, right? That ain't happening. That ain't realistic. So our reality so our reality now is that we do take the time to work actively on our intimacy. We sometimes do have to plan.
I know she said intimacy and not sex, because intimacy is it's more than sex.
Yeah. And sometimes we do have to plan and say, all right, we're going to do it. We're setting this night aside for us.
And we've learned on those nights we're not doing anything elaborate.
Yeah.
There will be no 3-hour movie like some persons like, let's watch a movie. So picture this. It's a long work week. We finish working 6 o'clock, right? We have something to eat. So by 7, Renee says, do you want to watch a movie? I'm like, no, we have an appointment. No man, we have time. I said, Renee, you're tired. No man, I'm okay. I can watch this movie. It's only 90 minutes and we're good. we're gonna make this happen. And I watch her.
Sometimes it don't happen till morning.
And I watch her.
That's the reality.
I watch her watch the movie. I watch her become tired during the movie. I've watched her many times fall asleep within 10 minutes of the movie starting. And then I'm like,
yeah, so the truth is that sometimes it doesn't happen until the next morning. But the point is that we have
next morning while I'm sleeping.
The point is that we have to be intentional about planning it, so that it does happen and we don't lose sight of the importance of us having a healthy sexual relationship as husband and wife. Yeah. So
we really do hope that this video was, just give you a peek as to some of our expectations. And there are many others that we could have spoken about.
This
honestly.
is really just some.
Yeah, and so what we want to do is have the conversation with you in the comments below about some of the expectations that you have, how you've been treating with them. And I mean, if it is that you have some realities in your marriage that you are very surprised with, that it's hard for you to work through, it's important to have the right perspective. It's important to kind of double check those expectations to see if they're practical.
Yeah.
Because expectations have to be practical, and expectations actually lead to disappointment if they're not
managed well.
Yeah.
And a part of that management is communication.
Yes.
Communicating with your partner what your expectations really are. We would have shared previously that we never did premarital counseling, so a lot of the expectations that we had, we didn't even realize that we had
that
them.
They were unreasonable.
Yeah, we didn't realize that we had them, and we didn't realize that they were unreasonable until we were well into our marriage.
Yeah.
So we do encourage the conversation, right, before you get married. Speak about the things that you are expecting. Work with your premarital counselors and be honest and open about those things, so though we may have been discussing it in a light way, some of these expectations that we have shared here,
very important expectations, because they can lead to frustration, they can lead to just being very uncomfortable.
And there are things that we have shared here that have led us to the brink of walking away. So
everything that we've shared are real things for us. It's not, we laugh about them now because we've been able to move past and we've been able to accept them.
Yes.
But they're very real things for us, real issues. Because one of the things that we didn't mention about the morning routine for us is that led to a challenge in getting to places on time.
Yes, it did, and that caused arguments every single day when we were
for like a year straight. We got to church late every week,
and not just church. When Jermaine was taking me to work in the mornings and I'd be late for work, I'd be so upset and so frustrated. Yeah, he'd be early for work, but I would be late, and I would be so frustrated, so upset every single day with him that there would be no conversation in the car.
If you want to get to work early, take the car. Leave me home. I'll walk.
Yeah, and that's just guilting. That's just guilting me and sending me in a different spiral.
Yeah.
So yes, we're saying that these are real issues. They're things that need to be discussed before you get married, and those expectations must be managed as you go through your marriage.
Definitely. So we hope you enjoyed this video. We held nothing back. We shared everything with you. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up. We want you to join in the conversation below.
Yes.
Let us know what you thought about this video, and we will see you in the next one. So the reality is that we had to have many discussions about our finances. We have to track them. We have to know what's happening. If one person is at the supermarket not sticking to the list, then that affects other things that we have to do. So it's just something that was a lot more work than we thought it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you never seem to get perfect. It always requires work, always requires a conversation. Mm-hmm. And so